that part of me really needed to be heard and seen. I don't know how it could have been shown in the moment, but the way that I was treated was all or nothing, in or out, punishment until you change, and never sitting with that spark of my soul that felt hurt and unheard. From above a tree line, you look down and all you see is this waving layer of green that lasts and pervades. It's seemingly as if there's nothing below it, and that is the ground. But in reality, the ground is something that you cannot see, and you actually have no clue if the ground is actually there or not, regardless of if you actually know how trees work. Because what we see is what we know. And what happens with what we see and then what we know, we then fill in the gaps with a story. That gap between what we can actually truly know and what we fill in the gaps with and what we don't know, that gap between all three of those points is what we're talking about today. But in regards to ourself, much of the gaps that we find as we do our inner work, our spiritual work, our emotional work, as we do true work in depth into our being, a lot of the gaps that we find where there's nuances that we never knew is because as part of our nature, we fill in the gaps with stories, with ways that normalize our understanding, that help us have a normal life without having to sit there and contemplate seemingly unnecessary quandary of, does the canopy of a forest, when seen from above, actually have trees below? And where we find ourselves today is we start to find a new balance between opening our awareness towards the parts of us that are no longer hidden in the shadows and who we feel we are present with right now. Hi, I'm Daniel Estevez. I make content for clear, conscious people that are tired of the same results and seemingly the same options. We want something different. We want to heal differently. We want to feel differently. We don't want the same thing that we had yesterday to be the options on our plate today. We want something new. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it stretches us, we want something different. And that's where we're moving towards. And we spend a lot of time in the shadow part of ourselves that we don't consciously are necessarily aware of. And it's through that shadow work that we begin to discover the nuanced pieces of us that we maybe never really had a deep personal relationship with. But it's when we can start to have new relationships with old parts of us, that's when we can start to develop and experience new ways of being. This work is dangerous because we have a system that works. And when you start poking around in your inner system, you're going to start to feel and experience things that maybe you're not ready for. How do we begin to open ourselves up in a healthy way and start experiencing new parts of us in new ways without hurting ourselves or damaging ourselves or traumatizing ourselves? How do we do that? The first step to beginning to open up yourself in a new way is start by bringing awareness. Now, for me, what that means, and maybe this sounds a little silly, is last week, I noticed myself starting to disassociate, which is an old pattern that's happened before in the past. It was very familiar in my past. But I started to realize that when I'm playing a video game, or when I felt like, wow, I'm actually really trying to escape. I don't know why I'm trying to escape. Like, what's going on? What's coming up? I don't even know what's coming up. And I thought, and I realized that I just started religious trauma therapy. That could be obviously a huge reason why, but I have a life that I'm living. I have a girlfriend. There's things that could be happening that maybe I'm not even aware of, but I'm still my body is reacting in a way that's saying like, let's keep it a little safe. Let's keep it a close to vest. So for me, how I started to interact with that is I started to bring awareness to it. And that was it. No judgment, no attachment, no finger wagging to the part of me, none of that. I just said, I see you. I see you, part of me that wants to disassociate. I see you, part of me that's feeling anxious. I bring you awareness. When we can start to meet parts of us with open-handed awareness, that is how we start to have guilt-free interaction with ourselves. No agenda, no manipulation tactic. I gotta change, I gotta do this, I can't do that. Oh, I thought it was better than this. No agenda, no manipulation tactic. Presence, space, and awareness. Because I don't know about you, but in my experience, how I was brought up through my parents and through the churches that I was going to was I was always brought up with this all or nothing, super intense, you got to change right now. Here's the 8 reasons why. This is a reason why God wants you to change. This is the reason why I want you to change. This is the reason why you should change for yourself. So I always, when things of mine that made other people uncomfortable were discomforting, when those things came up, the response I got from everyone was this huge list of like, you're either in trouble and you're grounded, you're punished, whatever it was. There was always these immediate and urgent responses to deal with the actions, to make the action stop. Because if we can make the action stop, then there's no problem. But you and I both know that the more you push away an action, the more you squelch the ability for there to be an action, you are not dealing with the root. And the root's going to find a different way to communicate. And it's going to keep finding different ways to come out and display itself until it's no longer, until it finds whatever way it can to display, to show itself. And for me, it was to disassociate. For me, because if I'm disassociating, if I'm not fully present, if I am detached and apathetic, and that's how that part of me that's like feeling angst and wants to display itself and like be seen and recognized by others, if that's how it solves the problem, whatever the problem inside of me was to be apathetic and disconnected, and then people aren't reacting anymore, then people aren't wagging their finger anymore because I'm not present. I'm not here. I am not available for them or myself. And the way we help to heal the part of us that never got to fully communicate in the way that it was best trying to communicate until it find the worst, for me it was the worst way to communicate, is to give that part of us the room and love that it always needed. That part of me really needed to be heard and seen. I don't know how it could have been shown in the moment, but the way that I was treated was all or nothing, in or out. punishment until you change, and never sitting with that spark of my soul that felt hurt and unheard. So I'm not fixing that part of me. I'm not saving myself in the past. But what I'm doing now is I'm recognizing how in which I was hurt. Not fully, but I recognize ways in which I was hurt. And I choose instead not to reuse those hurtful methods to try to correct some broken behavior in me. But instead I choose to bring awareness in the form that gives space, time, and healing for whatever part of me that never got it in the first goddamn place. Yeah. How we meet the part of us that seems to be detracting from our whole experience is how we will heal and how we will grow. I give that part of me space to feel what it needs to feel, because I want that part of me that's so hurt, that whatever past trauma I'm starting to dip back into, and now that part of me is like, we gotta hide again. We're not safe again. I can't brute force think and change that part of me. No, I have to sit alongside of it, sit next to it, and say, you have space. You have time. And you have permission, if what you need is to play a video game and completely disassociate from existence, if you need that, have it. Because I want you, the part of me, I want you to experience love being given and not permission given, not a requirement list given. I want you to experience open-handed space, time, and love. And that's my hope for us. I want us to experience loving ourselves in a new way that starts to set ourselves free. It's so easy to have an idea in your head of how things work, but to take a step back and to just visualize and realize that maybe I know exactly how a forest works. And maybe I know the mycelium around the the roots that cause okay, maybe I know everything roots to canopy of a tree, but knowledge has never saved a part of me. I need to give myself something different. I need to give myself space, time to question, and not just resolve the story in our head. You need this space that affords you the ability to heal whatever way that you need. And you can't pick. It's not a la carte healing. We just have to be faithful to what we have, what we're experiencing, and how we show up. And this, my friends, is how and why we are meant to live the life that we are experiencing. Because when we chose to come and exist on this plane of existence, we did it full well knowing what we were stepping into and what we were going to be working on. So take joy in the realization that you are honoring yourself, time immemorial, times past, and right now, and the future. You are stepping into your fullness and your awareness of healing and love for yourself. I'm a life coach, link in the description, free chat. Let's start this journey together. Thank you for those of you that have been walking this journey with me. It's been such an honor to hear you guys in the comments, to hear what's going on in your hearts, how you're working through things. And we are committed to this journey together because we are building something that lasts, and that thing is you. You're the thing that lasts. You are the best investment, and we're growing because of it. All right. Bless up, guys. Take care.